Rose Tang. My name is Rose Tang. I'm Chinese. I was born and raised in Sichuan, near the Amdo area in China. This is my first time in Dharamsala. A few days ago, when I was at a rally protesting against the Chinese President Xi Jinping, I said I was hoping there would be no more self-immolations in Tibet, because Tibet cannot afford more self-immolations, more self-immolators. And here I'd like to pay my tribute. I'd like to pay my tribute to McLeod Ganj, a young man in Amdo. I got to know the news this afternoon, and I was very saddened and very shocked. Every time there is a Tibetan self-immolating, it's I cannot express how I feel. I usually would sob for days. It's not because just because I'm Chinese. It's because it's such a horrible loss of precious human life and so unnecessary. I'm trying to describe how I feel here, and it's very, very difficult. I am angry and saddened and outraged. I apologize to all of you here for the atrocities the Chinese government has committed in Tibet over the last 55 years. I am very sorry. I know it's something I did not do. I myself and my family, we are victims of a brutal Chinese communist regime. We're all victims of this brutal Chinese communist regime. 15 members of my family have died under this brutal regime. Some of them were executed, and some of them committed suicide, and some of them were starved to death. Both of my parents, all of my grandparents were persecuted and jailed. And dozens of my relatives were persecuted for more than a decade. I myself survived the Tiananmen massacre. I was a student protester in 1989 in Beijing. We were very naive back then. We protested, we went on hunger strike, we rallied, we marched. Even though we knew some of our relatives died in this regime, but we were hopeful the Chinese Communist government would reform itself. And we students were willing to die for democracy and for human rights, for free China. That was 25 years ago. I first went to Amdo area in 1984, and later on in 1985. In 1984, I visited Kirti Temple. Little did I know, 30 years later, it became the site of self-immolations. A few days ago, I found my essay I wrote in 1984 as an art student, how I was moved by Tibetan people's faith in the religion, and how I felt this religion, the faith, and Tibetan culture need to be preserved and protected. And at the height of the self-immolations, in November 2012, I think, I was astounded by the high number of self-immolations. That's when I decided I had to do something about it, because there were very, very few Chinese wanted to know or wanted to speak up on it. Tibet to the Chinese, because of the propaganda, is the #1 taboo. Anyone who would speak publicly about it, either outside of China or inside China, would mean persecution. But I think if I don't do it, not many Chinese would do it. And I live in America. I live in a free country. Many Chinese living overseas, outside of China, are still brainwashed and still feel this fear generated by the Chinese government. And they would turn a blind eye to the sufferings of our Tibetan brothers and sisters. So I'm here offering my support to you and my sympathy and my compassion. I learned my compassion from the teachings of His Holiness the Dalai Lama when I was a student in Sydney back in 1993. Because compassion is not a huge part of the Chinese culture, largely due to the Chinese Communist propaganda. And I'm here to study, to learn, and to offer my support and my sadness tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.